just want some mahogany dust to mix with glue to fill the pinholes. You can do this with super glue, but the dust activates the super glue really quickly because it increases the surface area massively. Oh, I don't know, talk to a chemist. And also when it's set, it's incredibly hard when you use super glue. Using super glue, there is a good way for filling super glue and rosewood dust. Good way for filling any dents or defects in a rosewood fingerboard, because you want that to be hard. You fill it and then sand it to whatever profile. This will probably want doing twice because it will shrink back a tiny bit. You get a good colour match. And then tomorrow, when it's hard, it can be ever so lightly planed. But as it's sitting on the inside, it's not going to be seen. But I've got to do a good job because I know it's there. I need to cut a piece in now and glue that up. So I'm going to cut that down to a straight line, plane it up and stick it on there. That will fit like so, and then be routed at some point. These bench dogs are really useful. It's something you can very easily set up. Take that off for the minute. Always keep your nozzle clean. use a packer against the dogs so it doesn't indent the surface. This kit's from Veritas. It's quite expensive, but it's very good. There we are, can leave that overnight. Ended up needing some extra clamps, which is often the way. I've drilled out the jack. A little bit tight on the edge clearance, but I think with it being mahogany, it'll be more than strong enough. I like to fit these carbon fibre shields in the control cavity. I guess they're not needed 100%. They do help with the grounding and the electrical shielding, and they look pretty cool when they're in. When I've got sufficient depth in the cavity, which I haven't on this guitar, I embed them in clear resin and they look quite good done that way. Bit of copper foil, and I put a ground wire in, which will be connected to the metal backplate, so you've almost got a full cage with the carbon fibre and the control plate. What I'm going to do with this guitar is just set the perimeter of the carbon fibre in clear resin and not take up any depth in the cavity. That should hold it while the resin goes off. That's worked quite well. I can't see the join. Apart from the difference in grain. I've laid out the two loose pieces on my body plan. That just happens to be an offcut I like the thickness of, and I've used that to space that upper bass section. That line is following the paper plan, and I need to put the template back on. not massively critical in this situation or in this design. As long as we're on the centre line, that will do. The neck pocket lines up. And mark the two loose pieces so I can cut them roughly to size on the bandsaw. I've also, just for ease, marked some reference lines across the two separate bits, just for ease of reference. Just had a rethink on this before I cut it. It's going to be much better to pin it first so the two pieces are linked before cutting it to shape. Otherwise it could be really tricky getting them to line up when you're just working with two pins. So I'm going to lock it all together and then cut it out. Even utilising my high-tech jig, that proved quite tricky to do. I think it's going to be even harder connecting both pieces together. You've kind of got to plan ahead and always be working on the limitations of your tools and equipment, which, when it's all primarily hand tools or handheld power tools, you are pretty limited, and you've got to kind of build in for errors or potential points of adjustment. I mean, one of the issues is these carbon fibre rods fit absolutely tight either side, so you've got no method of adjustment. Ideally you'd want some sort of circular flange which fitted over the rod, so you could make the hole slightly larger and the flange would mask the rod. But we haven't got one, so I shall carry on, and I'm sure it'll all work out well in the end. Well, it works with wooden dowels. However, the carbon fibre is a bit trickier. All together. It just needs adjusting slightly on the base side. Back onto my plan. Very scientific, as you can see. What I'm looking for is pretty much an equal gap there and there, which is the transverse centre line on the string through holes, and a similar gap here and here, and we're about right there. I've glued this side in with super glue, so it would obviously go off quickly. I could carry on working. This side has been done with white glue, which enables me to make very minor adjustments, and I'm now going to clamp it down and leave it to set before routing to shape. The router template could be removed now because you've got the correct profile cut into the top of the body, which the bearing will follow. However, it's much easier for the router to slide on top of the acrylic than it is for it to move on top of the guitar body. It worked out well, or at least in line with what I was after. There's a lot of sanding on the edges, and I need to decide whether to carve the upper and lower base bouts. I may try and chamfer them off. I'll have to think on that one. Starting to take shape now. I've had in mind with this guitar from the outset to have a set neck. I don't know why, it just seems to feel right to me. And the other thing I couldn't decide on was whether to have a trapeze. This is one of my trapezes, not quite finished, but I don't think that works, so I'm going to put a string ferrule block in the back. I think that'll be better. What I like about the sample block I've done is at certain angles the copper almost disappears, you can't see it, which is quite interesting. The one on the left has been done with an oil-based size and the one on the right is water-based. As you can see, the left-hand side is darker, but I want to give it a coat of sanding sealer when it's complete, and I don't think that will adhere to the oil-based one. Been thinking on the finish for this, it was just going to be given a coat of clear shellac, but I think what I'm going to do is clad it or cover it in copper leaf and then lightly sand away the leaf so you end up with copper in the grain, and then give it a coat of sanding sealer. It's really tricky to work with, and no doubt when you see my crude attempts all the experts will be throwing their hands up in the air in despair. The metal copper leaf, you get copper leaf, gold leaf. Gold leaf's a bit expensive at the minute, price of gold, you know, the boy. It's on, that's fastened to or stuck to a transfer paper. So you size the wood with an adhesive stroke size, that's water-based, there is an oil-based one. And then you stick the copper sheet on like that and peel the backing away. Or you can use loose leaf, which is really tricky to work with. You need a special knife, which isn't really a knife at all, to lift the stuff and cut it. I did try using other tools, but in the end I had to cave in and buy one. I think it was about 25 quid or something. You can't cut much with it apart from metal leaf. Anyway, we shall see how we get on. That's, well, there's two pieces there. I don't know whether the light is shining or reflecting badly on that. That's been stuck down but not rubbed away yet. These two, one's with a water-based size, one's with an oil-based size, have been rubbed away, and I really quite like the effect. At certain angles you can't really see the copper at all. It's quite minimal, which is what I'm after. Anyway, it'll be an interesting experiment. I've thought about doing it for ages. I have fiddled around, but I've not yet done it on a guitar, so this is going to be the first one. So I'll get some stuck on and we'll film a bit more. First thing to do is apply the size. It dries, well, it'll soak into this wood because it's not been sealed yet. At the moment I'm not happy with the way the mahogany looks. It's just too, I don't know, dull, I suppose, for want of a better description. And I was reluctant to start applying stains, that sort of thing. So we'll see how this works. If it doesn't look right, it's no big deal. It will sand off in 5 minutes, providing I've not lacquered it. We'll just do this panel first, see how we get on. The transfer papers are a little bit easier to use than the loose leaf. And I'm only using them because I'm running out of loose leaf and I wanted to try and get this done today. It really is quite forgiving because the vast majority of it's going to be sanded off. Won't be seen. I've got no idea how you do it on a sheet of glass. It must be really tricky. Particularly if you're outside doing sign writing or whatever. It's affected by, well, just by your breathing. It blows away. If I get any gaps in this, I can patch it up afterwards. The professionals use a burnisher. I think I prefer a stubby finger in this instance. Probably supposed to leave this to dry before you pull the backing off, but I'm always too impatient. Anyway, you get the general idea. I can patch these tears up. Not that it really matters, because once it's been sanded, any gaps in it won't look out of place. The idea is I want it pressed, really pressed into the grain, which is another benefit of using these papers, because you can be quite heavy on the back of the paper. You can't put so much pressure on the exposed foil. I'm going to order some gold tonight, see how much it costs. There it is with the backing paper pulled off. A few areas I've missed and 1 or 2 tears. The loose leaf is particularly useful for patching up any little bits, like there for instance. It's just sticking to the size that I've applied to the bare wood. And I don't need to bother about the loose raggy bits, because they'll just be sanded away. Reminds me of the Buddhas you see in Thailand covered in gold leaf, fluttering in the breeze. Maybe I could have little books of gold leaf by the door, people could come in and buy them. Stick them on a guitar. I'm sure that's quite sacrilegious. You have to be careful that your fingertips are clean and dry. Otherwise, you'll find you get, when you're pressing it down, the leaf will stick to your finger and tear away. If anybody watching this knows how to do it, please feel free to comment or email me. On to the next one. Applying decals is a walk in the park compared to this. There will be either a short video or a video, there will be a short video on fitting decals, or it will be part of the next Rock City video. This is really interesting. There's the back done. The vast majority of that will be sanded away. I'm going to leave it 24 hours. And what we'll end up with is the copper foil sat in the grain and any of the minor dents and defects that were in the old mahogany. It would be quite interesting as an overall finish if it was done a little bit neater, that whether you can see that area, you know, is quite acceptable, as is this area, whereas here it's a bit patchy, but that could be avoided. And you would then have to lacquer it, but ultimately it wouldn't be that strong because you'd be depending on the bond between the wood and the copper foil, which is just down to the size that's used. You'd probably end up with issues just like they had with the Paisley Telecasters in the 60s, which were done with wallpaper, I believe. So that will be sanded off tomorrow, probably with a 600 or an 800 grit, at which point the workshop will be full of copper foil.